What's going on YouTube? Have you been building only those floating hexagon shelves? Today, I want to show you exactly why we need to stop building just those. My name's Andy, this is Cedar River Woodworking, and welcome to the shop.
I live inside my own.
And here is the reason why you need to stop building only those floating hexagon shelves. Because we have other furniture that we can build that are also made out of these hexagons. If you have some type of aesthetic where you want hexagons throughout the house, this is going to be a great project that you can do alongside of those floating shelves. So you might be asking, what is this thing? I'm actually going to be using it as an entertainment stand. So I can have DVD players, PlayStations, whatever type of entertainment equipment you want in any of these shelves. They are perfect size to put any type of records inside of here. And I might actually just put my record player here and hang my TV on the wall. But as you saw earlier, I was sitting on top of this thing and it is plenty sturdy for anything that you want to put on here. I was outside of this support base here and it still didn't tip over. Now I weigh about 230 pounds, so this will be able to support just about any TV that you want on here. Now, like always, I will not gatekeep any type of measurements for this, but if you do want plans, I do have plans available over on my Etsy shop. Now let's get over to the saws and let's build this thing. So here we are over at the miter saw. I have 4 of these 1x12s. A 1x12, if you don't know, is 11¼ inches wide, 3/4 an inch thick. And in this version, I have an 8-foot long piece. So we need to cut up 24 of these pieces. I have a stop block set here at 10 inches. Now I'm going to be setting my saw to a bevel cut. So I'm going to tilt the entire head over 30 degrees. So I'm going to be using a digital angle gauge like this one to give me a perfect angle, because there are going to be a lot of angles that compound on these. Now we are going to cut 24 of these pieces at 10 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this first one so it has an angle there on the end. With that angle established, I'm going to flip the board over. So what this is going to do is give us a parallelogram. So the ends of this are going to be in opposite directions. We're using a stop block, so make sure that your blade stops completely before you lift it up, or you're holding down on this piece so you don't get a kickback. This is what your pieces should look like, and we need 24 of them, remember. So with 24 of these cut out, you are going to consume about 2.5 of these boards, one at full length, and the other one you're gonna have a decent chunk left over, and I will give you measurements on all of those once we get all of these assembled. Here's the last piece that needed to be cut, and we have about a 36-inch long board left over. We are going to keep this for one of our shelves. So here we are over at the bench. I have 6 of these parallelograms that we cut out here. Remember, there were 24 of them, but I have a stack of 6 and I have 3 other stacks set off to the side. So I'm going to show you how we are going to assemble these, and it's going to be very similar to probably what you've seen across the rest of YouTube. I'm going to lay these out and I'm going to tape the joints and fold it all together. Now this is going to be one of those situations you're going to want to make sure that all of these are straight to each other. Otherwise, it's going to create a bunch of issues. So now that we have these laid out, I'm going to use some really wide masking tape for this. This is some 4-inch blue tape. And then I'm going to do some long runners along it so that we can fold this up better. Now, if you are looking for some plans for this, I will have some linked down in the video description below. I do have lots of plans for many of my other projects as well. While you're down there, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, it should be enough just having this tape on these joints here. But I do like to run a piece or 2 across lengthwise, and then it helps me just kind of fold everything up just a little bit better. Once we have all 6 of these taped up, I'm going to flip everything over and wreck it potentially. Now once I have this flipped over, I'm putting some tape here on this face, because when we roll it up into each other, it's going to create a pretty harsh joint there, or pretty tight joint. And the tape here is going to help with any glue squeeze out. So when the glue comes onto the tape, you can just peel the tape up instead of having to get into that joint and really have to clean everything up. Now with all of these joints taped up, we're going to go ahead and put Titebond 2 wood glue inside of these joints and then fold it all together. Make sure that you tape the last joint because otherwise it'll completely fall apart. Now, with all of the glue in there, I do have this one flipped up just a little bit, and I'm going to put glue on this edge as well so that it gets that final glue joint. You should have some glue squeeze out here. You don't necessarily need a ton, but we want to make sure that we have some tight joints. So now that we have one hexagon made, we need to go ahead and make the other three. I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera so I don't have to bore you with any more of this assembly. Alrighty, so now we have our final hexagon all made up. And pro tip, get yourself some ratchet straps and put it around this. It will really suck in those joints and make them nice and tight. So I'm going to let these sit for a few hours so this glue completely sets up. Now we have 3 more cuts that we need to do, and that's for our shelves that are going to go on this thing. So let's head over back to the miter saw. All right, so like I said, we only have 3 more boards that we need to make, and this is going to be one of them. This is going to be the last parallelogram that we need to make. After that, we'll set our saw back up to the 90-degree cut. So this one, from point to point, we need to go 31¼ of an inch. I'm going to be using the scrap piece that we had left over from making the hexagons because it already has the 30-degree angle on the one end. Now this piece, if you cut it a little bit longer, the bottom hexagons will be spaced out a little bit further, and that's perfectly okay, but it will affect the measurements of the other 2 boards that we need to cut after this. So if you want to do it exactly by the plans, we're going to do it at 31¼ but you could do this at 32, 36, whatever width that you want, depending on the spacing that you want between your hexagons. So now that we have our saw set back to the 90-degree cut, we need to grab our final board. Now, if you guys have seen this channel before, you know that I'm going to cut the end off of this. I just like doing that because then I know that I have a true 90-degree board and it's nice and square. So out of this one board, I need one board that's 60¼ and one board that is 30¼ All right, so these last 2 boards are actually going to be the very top and the very bottom of this stand. You can continue on with this and use 4 boards that are 1 by 12 inches wide, but I might actually switch this up on my personal build here and use a 1 by 16. That's going to give me a little bit of overhang on the top and the bottom and just give just a little bit more dimension on this piece. So once we have everything dried up, let's go ahead and get this thing assembled. So here we are, all out of clamps, and I got all the tape and everything off of here. I did sand all of this off camera. I know that's really, really boring to watch. So I sanded this up to 150 grit, and now we just need to final assemble the thing. I sanded it up to 150 because there is some more glue that needs to go on here, and if there's a little bit of squeeze out, it's just a little bit easier to final sand after that. If you're cautious about it, you won't have any glue squeeze out on this process here. So what we need to do is we're kind of making a Mickey Mouse looking thing. So we have a piece set up like this, and then we're gonna have another hexagon here hang off of the side of it like this. So it's gonna be kind of hard to glue like this. So I figured out which ways I want all of this to be oriented. So I want this one to be just like this, and I'm gonna turn it 1 flat up. This is the face that this hexagon is going to get glued to. I have Titebond 2 again, and we're just gonna spread this across the top surface here. Now this is a lot of glue surface, so you shouldn't have to nail or do anything funky with this, but if you wanted to, you absolutely could. The glue is really what's going to give this thing all of its strength. Now once we have all of that glue on there, we're gonna go ahead and put our other piece on top. And we're just gonna make sure that the corners of these match up completely. and you're nice and parallel with each other. Then I'm just gonna take a couple clamps and clamp that one together. And in that same process, we're gonna be thinking about doing this to the other set as well. I do know which ones or which sides I want facing which directions. So this is what that is going to look like in its final form. So you have the one on the bottom and then the one clamped to the top of it here. I'm gonna go ahead and do this to the second one here. All right, so now we have these clamped to our table in the orientation that we would like them. The next board that we need to glue on is this piece right here. This is our middle shelf and it has the 30-degree angles on the end of it. So it's our parallelogram. We need to slide that in here. And I just have one of these fully clamped down and the other one kind of lightly. And right now they are a little bit too close to each other because the shelf doesn't sit down on top of this hexagon quite how we would like. So I'm going to loosen up one of them and slide it over until everything falls into place. So now that we have all of that lined up, we are going to glue this one in place as well. Now remember that this shelf, depending on the length that you cut it, is going to affect how big the gap is in the center here, and it's also going to affect the top and bottom shelves as well. I guess the bottom one isn't quite a shelf, it's more like a landing or a foot, but it will affect the length of those. And unfortunately, you're going to find out here in a little bit, I made an error and I cut something incorrectly. Now here are where things might get a tad bit tricky because we have these clamps sticking off the back here. We need to lay this thing down. But I know that these clamps out here are all about the same height of each other. So I have some more F-style clamps that are about the same design as those guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and use those. And I'm gonna put them down on this bottom face here so that I can get this bottom shelf glued into place. So you can already see right here that I have my F-style clamps already in place. I just need to add some glue to the bottom face here and then go ahead and slide my board down into it and clamp it into place. So now that we have our glue on, we're just gonna go ahead and slide this down in here like I had said and stand everything up so that we have it all lined up correctly. Alrighty, well, welcome to the part of the build that has some drama in it. I cut this board across the top here, and to be honest with you, it is not the correct size. So what happened was, you may not be able to see it on the camera here, I've actually got a gap between these 2 points down here that's about 1/2 of an inch, and that 1/2 of an inch translated to the top part up here. So this is where referential measurement really is going to come into play and help you with your building skills in the future. So what must have happened was I got the shelf incorrect and it caused some spacing between these two pieces here. So I need to go ahead and set this piece off to the side, and I went ahead and got another piece so that I could put it in place here. Now we just need to glue this in place and we will be finished with this project. All we need to do is let that glue dry, and then we can use this however we want to. If you're gonna stain, paint, or finish this, now's a great time to do it if you have not done so already. Now for the error in this measurement, I will have that corrected in the plans that I have available. So if you're one of those people that likes plans in the hands, head over to my Etsy site and check out those plans. If you've made it this far, you should probably scold me. Measure twice, cut once, because I did make this mistake. We're all human, and even us here on YouTube, we do have some mistakes like that. But anyways, for now, my name is Andy. This has been Cedar River Woodworking, and we'll see you in the next video.